Good morning, beautiful souls. Welcome back or welcome to The Hawk. My name is Lana Zelinsky, and I work in the spirit dimensions. As always, in all my videos or on my live feeds, simply take what resonates, and you're welcome to leave the rest right here. Happy Monday to you all. I hope that you had a wonderful weekend. I myself had a glorious time this weekend. I'm enjoying many things. The energy this week. Good morning. Come on in. Hey, Kayla, come on in. Kayla, you're the first one in, I think. Welcome. It's good to see you here. We'll just give everybody a moment or two to come on in, and I'll start with the energy update this week. I took a little extra time with Spirit this morning. It was kind of interesting. I needed a little bit more time to go a little bit deeper into the understandings. Hi there, everybody. Come on in. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I missed you. I missed Friday's live. Oh, Kayla, you can go back and have a listen. Good morning. Welcome. So interestingly enough, there is an energy moving in this week. And one thing that we're going to feel is the willingness to do things differently. It was quite an interesting energy that pulled in a whole bunch of things that I think we're going to see this week that is going to kind of peek its head up. And depending on how we lean into it, depending on what it stirs up within us, but there is this willingness shifting in this week to do things differently, to look at things differently, to kind of have a sit in that creative space. A lot of passion is coming up this week. Things that may have, you thought about in the past, or new passions are going to be stirring up this week. And it had a real, chuckle, if you will, but I have to use the word because this is how what spirit gave me. It's going to kind of bring up this romantic side of us, and it's going to bring, and romantic, it can be, a love for all different things. It doesn't necessarily have to link to relationships, but it is going to connect there. But it also has this romantic feeling within ourselves, with this whole shift in the willingness to do things differently. Now, one thing that came up as well, I'm just having a look at my notes. I took a lot of notes when I came out of my trance this morning. One thing that came up though is this: I felt this stepping back and away this week, that from stereotypes, from trends on social media, out, stepping out of the norm kind of space, whatever's going on around us. I felt this need to kind of step back and kind of look into that exploring new place of realms and thought within it. The other thing that kind of came up is this desire to have to move very fast with it. And what spirit said was, no, 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 just explore the passions, explore the willingness, and give yourself that time to create your own way of doing things and your own way of navigating through the physical world. And I think that we're coming into, for many of us, is this: no, 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 I just need to kind of try this my way. I just need to kind of lean into, what's beneath the surface of what's being shown to me. There's so many things that are deeper than what we see, and there's so many things energetically and with other people's stuff. And I think that we're being kind of pushed into a little bit more of that whole space of in my own lane, in my own lane. The baby steps that we're gonna take is, and baby steps into willingness comes with that whole panic feeling, and that's a very much a physical world thing. We're afraid to make mistakes. What if it doesn't work out? There's that whole space. It's the whole willingness to allow yourself. And if it's about daydreaming, like perhaps that may be something that you may want to explore. I'm just going to daydream of big things, or I'm going to daydream about things that I want to experience. I feel that we're being kind of leaned into this whole willingness, this whole allowing space, but it also kind of stirs up a few things. For example, let's say you're feeling really passionate about something, and you thought, I should have done this a long time ago. And when we lean into that space, what it does is it brings up um maybe perhaps a little bit of regret. Why didn't I do that? Why did I listen to the people that said, "Oh, don't do that?" Right? Just love yourself romantically through that. I'm going to trust the timing of it. Maybe it wasn't time. Maybe, perhaps, I wasn't who I am, this version of myself today to allow that. Just be gentle with that willingness because I think it's going to stir up a few things, which is very normal. I mean, we all kind of lean into there a little bit, but this whole space of passion and romance, it may also kind of lean into how you're viewing the people around you, loving them through a lot of their own learning as well. That you may have a little bit of a shift in that. Your perspective may become a little bit um different. And one thing that kind of comes up is, well, if I open up that door, if I explore and that willingness to allowing that vulnerability with just kind of navigating through that, we kind of stir up again. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a stir up of well, I let them in before and I got hurt, right? So but how you look at that doesn't mean that you have to bring all these old situations back into your life, but having a different look at how you're looking at it, right? Like, it's just this whole compassion piece. We're coming into this compassion piece. And I think as we move slowly in that, I think we're coming deeper and deeper into this whole compassion space, compassion for ourselves, compassion for other people. There's going to be like this new love. And it felt, I was like, well, this is kind of smooshy, right? This is kind of fuzzy bunny. And I loved it at the same time as having that space of, oh, but that happened before, I tried that before and it didn't work. Whatever it is that you're navigating through, that just go with the willingness to do things or look at something differently. Well, the other thing that I felt really pulled back from is, and I just um you always have choice and free will, and take what resonates and leave the rest. But just avoid this week and just watch how you feel near the end of the week, about reading comments on how other people are feeling things, right? So when there's like a post on social media and you go in, and I think every social media platform has that, where you can go in and read the comments. Just avoid that. Just don't do that this week, and just watch how you feel, because it's going to lean into the willingness to look at something differently, right? How it's going to kind of tap you into, how do you truly feel about that, and it's going to kind of shift your thoughts and your awareness into a different way of looking at it, without pulling in a lot of external thoughts. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Everybody has their own way of looking at things, and that's okay. But I think that we're being asked to be just to kind of step out of that a little bit and to navigate our own. Navigate our own. Yes, we go through things collectively, but it's also really important to kind of lean into that willingness to do things or look at things or shift into a different space with it. Gonna be an interesting week. And quite often when we lean into that passion and that romantic space, for some of us, that can bring up a lot of emotions that we may have been pushing down. And depending on your experience, that may be your go-to place. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. But this romantic space that's coming in is coming in with pure love and light. So just kind of remember that as you kind of navigate through those things. Baby steps. We are in that retrograde space, and sometimes it feels like things are at a slowdown or at a stop. You kind of tap into that from a different way of looking at it, as baby steps or taking that time is a good thing. It's good to just take our time and navigate through how we're really feeling, what's really important to us. The other thing that came up with spirit, and I loved this so much, is I needed to remind, myself, and well, it wasn't, it was spirit, needed to kind of remind me and remind other people that we are not the sum of our past lessons. You know how I feel about the word mistake? I don't like that mistake. I don't like that word very much, but because it's lessons and it's learning, but we're not the sum of that. So, and that is the whole piece of kind of looking at it differently. That is the willingness to kind of look at those shadow parts within us from that loving space. I'm that was the experience, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm the sum of that, if that makes sense. And I sat there for a minute, and I just felt this passion and compassion and love, this romantic piece, to look at myself from that, right? So you can see how, when spirit gave me those, those words, I leaned into the willingness to look at it differently, because we kind of we can be really hard on ourselves, and I should have known better. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? I was out of alignment. But compassion, go into loving in that romantic space. I'm not the sum of it. I learned those lessons. I navigated through that from the best of my ability. That version of myself, who I was in that moment, I was learning something. Doesn't mean I'm the sum of it. Right. So, and that kind of pulls in what we talked about last week with this whole forgiveness space, and this whole moving forward momentum. Just kind of try to kind of tap into that this week, and just kind of take note on how you're feeling with it. Just take a few notes for yourself on how different that feels when you lean into that willingness a little bit. um I I'm looking forward to it. I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn about ourselves, when we kind of adapt into looking at things differently from that space of compassion. And it's going to be an interesting week. I really feel that, energetically. And I think that it's been coming for a while, with moving away from what doesn't serve us, as far as other things in the world. And, we're affected by that impact, at a huge level, right? Because there are so many things that are not in our control. So, give it a go this week, and just play and explore with it. Just simply play. The vibration of playing and exploring is a big part of our own learning and our own growth. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Oh, Dan's here. Hey, Dan. Um, I'm just want to take a look at the messages on your thoughts about what I channeled this morning, and then I'll go back and answer some questions. Happy birthday, Dan. Wow, and Peyton has a birthday coming up this week as well, on Wednesday. Wow, good to see. Good to see. Celebrate those of you who have birthdays this week. Truly celebrate, who you are. It's another spin around the sun is a glorious thing. Sometimes, depending on where you are on the number scale, it truly is just a number. It's the amount of, it's the years of experience, the date of when you arrived here. But be very playful to yourselves, and enjoy your day. Celebrate yourself. Sometimes it's like, oh, my birthday might be this month, so take the whole month. Really take that time to honor yourself. Okay, let's see where we're going here. Maruna, oh my God, I feel like my life is having a complete turnaround ever since the weekend. My anxiety is slowing down, and I feel that this week will be awesome. Absolutely. And, loving and the willingness to do things differently is going to be a big theme. Just kind of remember that spirit said it. And sometimes, the messages may sound very, very simple. It's a very simple message, yet it can be a big challenge, when you really try and put it to work in your life, or make it part of your spiritual, practice. The little simple things can really kind of bring us something big to learn. Sonia, I've been experiencing frequent panic attacks over the thought of death. Can you connect with my spirit guides regarding this, and how to overcome it? The fear of death is a big one for many people. I feel now, this isn't for everybody, but for Sonia in this experience, I feel energetically that there's an awareness to a past life experience. And I think it may be in alignment with a specific age that you were in a past life. And I just feel that soul memory is kind of bubbling around. I think we all experience some level of the fear of dying. It's a very much a human reaction. But if it's more than that, I find that quite often it does connect sometimes to a past life memory. And I'm kind of feeling that here with you. So one thing that I tend to, even with myself, is I'm here right now, and I'm living my life the best that I can. And I think, I can tell you all, every day, all day long, that there's nothing to fear on the other side. And, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we want to leave the physical world. There's still things that we want to do and explore and experience. Sometimes it's a fear of the unknown. Um, but I don't feel like there's any, I don't feel like a terrible energy or anything around you. I just feel that you're kind of processing, and we do process past life experiences. Our soul does remember. And sometimes that memory can come out in this lifetime as to where we were in a past lifetime. And that's kind of where I feel there, Sonay. So one thing that you can help overcome it is just simply like talking yourself through. I'm here today, and really, let's be brutally honest, today is all we all have, right? Like, we can plan and have goals and dreams, absolutely. But the reality is, we're all here today. Right. So reminding yourself, today I'm here. Today my physical body is great. Today, loving where you are in the moment, and just kind of putting down a lot of the worries or concerns that we may have. Okay. Because fear can take us down a path that can affect not just our well-being, and our mental health, but it can get away on us, and it can it can stir up a lot of things within us. So I would just keep working on that. The whole self-talk piece is a really good way of working through that, not just on the fear of death, but with all kinds of things. As far as the whole what's happening next to me, or where's the physical world going. There's a lot of that energy that's around all of us all the time, especially with the social media platforms. We're very much aware of what's wrong with the world, and we're not always putting our focus on what's right. Right. So just kind of lean into that a little bit. Um, Okay, can you please connect with my spirit guides for a message for me? I'm really pulled to reach for my spirit animal pocketbook, so I'm just going to open it up here and see where I need to go. I've landed on the crab. So you're about to experience an unexpected shift in surroundings or in your personal life that will be beneficial for your soul's path. You will find yourself becoming increasingly clairvoyant, able to see things from a non-visible realm more clearly. Ooh, that's wonderful. You're missing a lot by staying too focused on what's directly in front of you, rather than incorporating things that you hear or that is in your awareness. Pay close attention to promptings from your subconscious, which will come through dreams, visions, flashes of insight, and bringing these to the surface for guidance and to manifest them in the physical reality. Put on some of your favorite music, dress comfortably, and shut the shades and dance. I love that. It's amazing. Let's see where we're going here. Dan, I'm trying to change my outlook. I've been negative lately, and I decided as a birthday resolution to try and be more positive. I love that. It's really easy to get on that hamster wheel of negativity. It's really easy, and it's also very loud in the physical world. Like we're leaning in way too much on what's wrong and what's wrong and what's wrong, and we kind of pull in that momentum. Now, is it a little bit of work to kind of change your thoughts? Yeah, it's a little bit of work. It takes that awareness. But one thing that really helps, and it's an Abraham Hicks saying, is, and what I will say to myself when I find myself leaning in there too much, is no, no, no. Everything's working out for me. Everything was working out for me. Everything is working out for me. And I kind of lean into that trust piece. I'm going to trust the journey, even when it's hard, even when I don't understand. And I kind of interrupt that cycle by changing the thoughts, and I'll repeat it. And if I have to write post-it notes or send myself an email, with just to remind myself, right? The other thing that really helps, Dan, or for all of us, is, and I just feel really pulled to say this to you, Dan, is you're doing your best. And I think that, yeah, that has to be enough, right? I'm doing my best. And because I think we become so hard on ourselves. I haven't accomplished this yet. I haven't accomplished that yet. This isn't going the way I planned it. I just have to kind of lovingly remind you that you're doing your best. The other thing that I have to say, and is, I don't know if and I get it. We want things to be perfect, and we're satisfied when things are perfect. But I have to put down that expectation of perfection. So I don't know if you've been like, either recording some like over and over looking for the perfect feed or like the perfect video or I just have to kind of say, you know what? Every there's imperfections in everything that we do. And that was one thing that was really tough for me, especially when I started going on to, onto YouTube was, worried so much about lighting, worried so much about my hair, worried so much about my, what am I wearing? What did I wear in the last live? And it becomes our dominant vibration by always having to make sure that there's a perfection there. How are people seeing me? How, like, and when we kind of, and it goes back into last week's topic about being raw, when we kind of like I'm going to show up as I am. I'm going to allow myself to have the experience. If I trip and fall, I'm going to get up and dust myself off. It kind of gets us out of that that tail chasing of perfection or being hard on ourselves. Because that kind of leans into the negativity. Sometimes the negativity that we're pulling or leaning into is the desire to have everything perfect. And I just feel like I need to say that, Dan. And it may resonate to more than just Dan. It may be to a few of you here, but I think that you are doing an amazing job from where you're standing, and you are taking those steps forward. So the willingness to look at yourself differently again, and that is a big thing that that was the whole reason for me coming live today, was this whole willingness to do things differently, and that can include how we look at ourselves. Right? How am I going to look at myself today? Am I willing to look at myself differently? Right? Okay. Very good. Very good. um See where I need to go. Dan Quinn. Any messages from my spirit guides? I feel like I can do more in my career. I think, first of all, there's some cheering going on for you up there, so I just feel like I have to address that. That there's been some acknowledgement on how much you have done in your career. That is there always space for improvement and growth? Absolutely. One thing that they're showing me is I just need to incorporate a little bit more of that allowing. So I'm going to be allowing myself to grow in those directions. I'm going to allow new opportunities. I'm going to allow that space and that vibration of growth to come my way. I just feel that it's almost like it's almost like you may not be doing it intentionally, but there's like this hold back a little bit. I just have to increase the allowing space. I'm gonna allow that and get playful with it. Get playful with it. Be willing to grow more. So for me, when I'm looking for growth, I connect with the earth. So I like to go outside and I'll check on the growth of a tree, and I'll visualize myself growing, and I'll visualize myself grounding with the earth. I just have to incorporate a little bit of that with the more fluid with it, if that makes sense. The other thing that's a lot of fun, and I often do this too, is go outside and water your feet. Literally, go out with a watering can or take the garden hose or a cup of water, and stand, or even in the bathtub. If you don't have access to a yard or a place to do that, stand in the bathtub and water your feet. And one thing that is so glorious about that is it kind of helps you lean into more of that growth and development. I'm going to allow myself to grow, and with growth, and remember, growth comes with a lot of growing pains. I just kind of remind myself that I'm growing, remind myself that I'm learning, and I also tap into I'm willing to grow in new directions, whether it be professionally or personally, whether it be in relationships. I'm willing to grow, and all these little tips that I give you, or the spiritual practices that I do for myself, it actually is to break away from um expectations. It's to break away from, those negative thoughts. It's to give myself a space to also manifest. We're very, for the most part, we're very visual, and we like to see results or do certain things, like whether it be do a little ritual to help yourself, but it also helps bring us back to that center space, that spiritual space. We are spiritual beings. We came here from the spirit dimension to have an experience. So it kind of taps us back into that space, and whatever resonates with you, you can change it up. If you'd rather water your head, then for to clear your thoughts, then water your head. For me, when I'm struggling to let something go, I literally like to wipe it off of me. You know, for me, it's just I have to physically do something to kind of remind my brain that I don't need to do that. It's kind of like breaking the loop or breaking the thought cycle. And depending on our experiences, depending on what we've learned in the past, and depending on where where our support systems are, it can take physically doing something, which is why the message from the crab about dancing, turning, closing the blinds and dancing is moving our body to shift out of certain energies that we've kind of aligned with. The willingness to do things differently. I love it. And I think, for me, what I'm going to do, and this is what I quite often do with the messages from spirit, is I'll take one sentence that really kind of struck that chord within me. It's almost like I can hear a guitar string going off. Aha! I will take that sentence today. My willingness to do things differently. So when things come up for me this week, I will literally go back to that Post-it note, and I'll go to where I've stuck it, and sometimes I'll label my water bottle, or I'll label, the screen, with the wallpaper on my phone with that message so that I can go back and say, this is where I am today. I have to kind of lean into that willingness to do things differently. I love it. It's I love kind of being able to shift into a different space and help myself grow and help myself learn and be an active part of that, because we are not the sum of our past lessons. Okay. Cheyenne, for a change, I do have a question. I have so much trauma issues with work currently, and I'm currently very conflicted about what to do with work in general. Do my spirit guides have any messages? Let me just lean in there for a minute, Cheyenne. So, um, one thing that I really feel I need to talk to you about is I need to talk about the energy of what you're holding on to. So the trauma, the experiences. So I need to kind of shift into that for just a moment. That's going to be part one. I feel like I need to give you a moment to stomp your feet, kick and scream, have that big let go, that big release, rather it be sitting at a campfire and writing yourself a letter and kind of letting the experiences out. I feel like I just got to give you a space to release, and I kind of need to keep that as part of your routine. So as I feel like you're you're very empathic and you're very sensitive to experiences, and I feel like I've got to give that to you. I just feel like I have to give yourself a space to go and kind of let it all out. The other thing that I feel is again with this willingness to do things differently. So, and I do feel that things need to shift there with work. So opening yourself up to that creative space, that passion, that romantic side, I need you to kind of open up to, is it time that I explore new avenues? Perhaps I'm just gonna get online and look up, job postings. Perhaps I'm gonna take a look at how I'm dealing with the current situation. Can I do this job from a different point of alignment? Is this job, chipping away at my soul? Is the universe showing me that it's time? And when you kind of sit with that energy, take your time with those baby steps. How does it feel to you? And then with the opening of the doors, I'm going to open up doors and I'm going to say to the universe, hey, you know, show me. And that is one of the biggest thing that I will use is show me. Show me the direction on where I need to go, and show me the lessons. That's the other thing that I say all the time. And even when it comes at me and I don't really like it, I look at it, okay, where does the growth have to come, and what am I holding on to here? I feel like I've got to kind of get you into that space. And I also feel like I need to separate you a little bit from the blending of the job. So, our jobs are very important. We all need to work. We all need to have that, the income. But it's not the essence of who you are. It's what you do for a living. So can you separate how this is impacting you? Can you kind of step out of the trauma and look at it as this is my job? If you feel that, and we do have that sense of awareness, I feel like this is ending for me and I'm being shown over and over and over again that I need to step aside, I need to step out of this, then start the process of manifesting a new job. Start looking, start, I talk a lot about every time I open a cupboard door, the fridge door, new opportunities are opening up for me. I even did it with the washing machine early this morning. I opened up the washing machine door, new opportunities are coming for me. I put the clothes in and I just kind of allowed that cleansing of energy. I just tapped into it. I'm gonna wash out some old energy here. And I just kind of leaned into there. I hope that that helps Cheyenne or anybody else that's kind of struggling with some change. Um Diane, yes, this message definitely hit home with what I think about my job. Peyton, exactly, Lana. I had a chat about this last night and completely agree. I was feeling that with trust, it's important to leap into what we love and to accept others as where they are. And and that's a really big one. And I think that this week is going, and for many of us, this may trickle into you know a month from now. It may come up and you may kind of think, oh, I remember Lana talking a little bit about this. It quite often we don't see it right away as well. We don't see what we're holding on to. We don't see how something's affecting us, or perhaps we didn't. We knee jerk reaction, and we had all this bubbling or this explosion of letting go. And sometimes we can lean into that space of not managing it from an aligned space, but there's something for us to learn on how we reacted to it. And so sometimes it might be an apology, sometimes it might be some forgiveness work, sometimes something is being shown to us by how we need what needs to be healed or worked on. So I think when we lean in there with our own baby steps, looking at things differently, that creative, passionate, compassion side, that romantic piece, and understanding that people are going through their own processes with that as well, right? So it's an interesting space to kind of be in this week. And I think as we navigate through that, it may even be just little things for you. It doesn't always have to be the great big moments. I love the advice of not needing to speak I love the advice of not needing to speak about, have an opinion on every new event. I struggle with this. Will not be reading social media comments this week. Good for you. Good for you. It's really easy. It's really easy to sit there and flick, and somebody will either post something or somebody will post an experience, and we go in and we want to read the comments. What does everybody else think of this? And we read it, and then we kind of judge it. Well, I don't know. They're having their own experience. We don't have to put everything out there. The other thing that comes up is when what we put ourselves into, we're also pulling in energetically um our own stuff. Like, we're putting it out there and exposing it, and then people are either commenting on your comment or judging your comment. We're exposing to ourselves energetically to that, even if we're not engaging, even if it's just putting a comment there. And if let's say 100 people energetically comment on that, we're kind of exposing ourselves to that, right? um it's easy to get into that social media loop. It's easy to become part of that. It also stirs up a lot of negativity within. I'm really careful what I expose myself to on social media. I'm just very, very careful with it. So let me know how you feel after a week of not doing that. The other thing is one thing you have to remember when anything is posted on social media, whether it be a comment, we're only getting one perspective, and there's always more than one side to a story too, and it's somebody else's story. That's somebody else's story, right? So I always just kind of keep that in mind. I never really care about social media, anyways. I'm usually very neutral, non-judgmental already. Good for you. That's amazing. Um, that space can be very challenging to get to just stay non-judgmental, stay neutral. People are having their own experiences. Sometimes people are learning different things, right? The other thing is sometimes for some people, when it comes to that whole compassion thing, is sometimes it's the only space that people are connecting with. Some people may not have the support systems, and that's their way of seeking that, and that's none of my business. Right? It's none of my business. um PJ, New fur baby joining the family this week. Oh, my heart. How are my current cats feeling? I keep telling them, please let me. I think there's gonna be an adjustment. I think it's normal to to go through an adjustment. There's gonna be a new energy. I do feel with some time and in their own learning and their own growth, I do feel it's gonna be okay. I just feel in the beginning there's going to be a bit of a what's going on here? I can feel that kind of my nose bent out of joint a little bit, but I do feel that it's gonna settle down. Be patient. I do feel like I have to give you this whole patient thing. I also feel that one of your pets is emotionally more needy than the other one. So I feel like I have to be aware of that with, you still matter. I feel like I need you, you're still it's not about a favorite. Like I feel like one of them feels more needy, if that makes sense to you. I feel like one of them is going to be a little bit more taken back by this new situation. Uh Jocelyn, I've had my new bunny for almost 3 months. Could you tell me how she feels about me? When I show affection, she tends to run away. Am I annoying her? Um, animals go through their own learning too. So they are a soul. They come here with their own learning, in their own purpose. But I also feel like the bunny's teaching you as well. So I feel like the bunny is learning how to accept affection, but I also feel that you're being taught by the bunny that there are other ways of showing affection. Right? So, and I feel like this is really interesting. When I first read it, I wasn't sure where I was going with it, but I feel like we all have our own love language, and sometimes it changes. And I feel that that's kind of a bit of a learning lesson too. I mean, it's great. We all like that physical touch. We all like that, well, some of us don't not, we don't always all like it, but I think that there's just a little bit of a lesson here on there's so many beautiful ways of expressing how we feel, and I think that that's coming back a little bit for you as a learning curve too, is we can learn so many different ways of expressing affection and expressing that romantic piece. So, this bunny may be asking for a little bit of personal space. I don't necessarily need that type of affection, but I think it's kind of teaching you on at a different level on different ways of expressing it. Make sense? I hope that that makes sense. See where we need to go here. Whoops, my mouse went away. Got away on me. Let me just scroll back up. Wesley, the screen on my desk phone randomly keeps turning on and off, even though it's not set to automatically turn off. Is Spirit playing here, or is it just the phone's operating system being funny? Um, Wes, when I kind of lean in there, this is going to be an interesting. This is going to be interesting, Wes. And you don't have to answer. So when I ask these questions, you don't have to share unless you feel pulled that you want to. But what I feel, Wes, is that I have to kind of ask you is because I feel like your spirit guides are intervening here. I really feel this is spirit, not the phone's operating system. I feel that I have to ask you, do you turn yourself on and off to to certain things? It's like I'm going to turn myself off and not feel or deal or acknowledge that part of me or that part of what's going on. And then I feel like you turn yourself back on with I'm going to engage, or I'm going to acknowledge, or I'm going to um turn myself on to this. And what I feel that spirit is trying to show you is we all have different parts of ourselves. We all have different versions of ourselves. We all have different experiences with ourselves. And you don't have to turn off parts of you um all the time. I feel like spirit's trying to show you that you can stay on. You can stay I'm just trying not to laugh at the terms. You can stay turned on. And so you can stay turned on and kind of embrace all of who you are. So I don't know if in certain situations you're like hitting the off button internally, or just kind of turn on. It's okay to be on and protected and to navigate through things. You don't have to shut off. If that makes sense. I hope I verbalized that, the way Spirit's showing me. You don't have to shut off. You know, that I feel that either it's like I'm shy to show who I am, so I'm just gonna show it off. I'm just gonna turn it off. It's like this, the experience of either judgment or the experience of either feeling raw and sharing who you are has not always served you. And I just feel like Spirit's trying to say embrace all of you. Embrace all of who you are. You know, we all have our moments where we're, you know, we're not perfect. We all have our moments of and things that we may not like about ourselves. And I feel like you can stay in the energy of Spirit and kind of work through them, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. And a little bit of a chuckle there from Spirit. The vibration of humor is quite loud these days with Spirit. um, that message about perfection is definitely accurate for me. I've been trying to teach myself not to be so much of a perfectionist, but it's hella hard. Yeah, because we it comes back down to that whole did I get it right? It comes back down to the check marks we got on our school papers, right? This is right, this is wrong, and we want a lot of check marks in our life. I did that right, I did that right, I did that right. And and we become hyper focused, and and when you really think about it, um things being perfect is our own thought anyway. What's right for me might not be right for you. And it can be something as simple as, what I consider a tidy house, it may drive somebody else bonkers. So it's our own perspective on that. The other thing is we are most satisfied when we think things are right, and there's satisfaction even, and there's learning even when things are not right, and when things are not going according to plan or are not perfect. I always lean in there with, and I try hard. Sometimes I don't, I'll be honest. But I try really hard to look at, okay, this is the gong show. I didn't do that well. Um, so what do I need to learn? Right? The willingness to do things differently or to look at things differently. And I also kind of lean into a little bit of, where do I need to put my energy today? Like, like I can only do so much, and then things were only gonna go in a certain way, and a lot of it is out of my control anyway. So, where am I putting that energy today? I really work hard at kind of looking at that. Um, and here's another thing is am I trying to distract myself from seeing something else? Right? Am I trying to distract myself from taking a look at something differently? Because sometimes we really don't want to. I don't want to see that I was out of alignment. I don't want to see that I was wrong or I was learning. I don't want, so sometimes we'll put our focus somewhere, and I just, it's that pause. I'm in a pause, which is why it's really important to take that spiritual practice. I'll use the term meditation, but it can just simply be to sit and kind of feel and kind of lean into. It's about that whole perspective that willingness to explore it. Good. The questions here today are amazing. Diane, yes, it does. I feel like I can't or shouldn't do more in fear of getting in trouble. Um, Diane, I relate strongly to that. The fear literally freezes you up, but not moving at all never gives results. Oh, powerful. Powerful. You guys are powerful. One thing I know is that you always gain something, even if the choice was wrong. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we are, sometimes we feel like we are the walking wounded or the walking warrior, right? And we just become fearful of doing anything else wrong in our life. And Cheyenne said that beautifully is, you know, we're gaining something. We're gaining, even if it's that was the wrong direction, but was it the wrong direction? Was it the wrong direction? Because there was something there for the learning opportunity, right? So, and I've said to Spirit, I don't know how many times, you know, "Why didn't you tell me I was going in the wrong direction? Why didn't you tell me I shouldn't have done that? Like, what the heck?" And spirit will say, "Well, we kinda did, but we needed to kinda walk with you down that path because there was something for you to learn. There was something that you needed to feel and experience." And, it comes down to how are we gonna look at it? We keep coming back to that today. It's amazing, on how we keep coming back to it. Well, yeah, that was a total gong show, and I didn't see it, and I didn't respond well to it. But here's where the learning is, and here is where the healing is. And sometimes the healing is just being able to say, "I let that go. I have to let that go." And it may come up over and over and over and over until we truly do, or we understand the lesson, right? So yeah, great, great words. Um, and once again, I love the community support here. I can't get to all the questions. Sometimes I don't even see all the questions. Even after the live, I'll kind of go through. I'll go back sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see that, because they do come up quite quick, and quite often you have to remember when I'm channeling, I'm literally not seeing what's happening on the side of the screen in the comment section. So when I go back, I do. So I appreciate all of you supporting one another and kind of throwing in your energy to kind of support each other. Let's see where we need to go. Take your time and work through it. I'm currently working through a terrible PTSD block myself. You're not working on such you're not working on such a block alone. I'm here too. Beautiful. It comes back down to what I said earlier with those baby steps, right? So sometimes it's baby steps and sometimes it's standing still as we navigate through all of this. Um, oh, there's a lot of positive vibes going back and forth. I love it. We've got this, says Diane. We've got this. We do got this. We truly do. It may feel like we've got a thorn and I know on our side. It may pass like a kidney stone. It may leave a mark. But we do got this. We do got the learning. Dan, I love this community here. I'm so blessed to be able to share this space with you guys. Feelings mutual from all of us here. Um, you're very welcome. Cheyenne, you're very welcome. Let's see, I'm just gonna scroll down here and catch a couple questions that I may not that people may have asked that I haven't gotten to yet. Um, Janine, I'm gonna do a few things for you, Janine. First, I'm just gonna channel a little bit here from your spirit guides. Um, I what they're showing me is I've got to kind of tap you into that acknowledgement piece of acknowledging all of who you are in that beautiful energy that you are. I don't know if you're struggling with um the whole not enough piece or the not worthiness piece or that whole space there of I'm not doing a good job or whatever it is there. I just feel like I've got to give you that big energetic hug and let you know and remind yourself that I'm doing the best from where I'm standing. I also feel like I need to turn to I've been turning to this book a lot lately on the lives. I seem to kind of go a while without, and then all of a sudden, Spirit says, "There's a message in the book for." So I'm just going to open this up. Um, I got to the Badger. You must be persistent and stick with your project to its completion, no matter what. Be willing be willing to defend your beliefs and principles and meet any challenge or criticism ahead. It's time to stop your delay and avoidance tactics and get on with what you know you need to do. Stop depending on others than resenting them when they don't come through and trust you have the capacity to be self-reliant. Turn your anger into structure, action without cutting others to shreds. So I think sometimes when we lean into and again it comes down to this whole processing of what hasn't been going right, leaning into the great things that you've been doing. Jennifer Kraus, I've been using the book almost every morning. It's wonderful to have a focus for the day. Yeah, like I said, Jen, I went, I seem to go well, it's not me, it's spirit. I just kind of trust what spirit needs. Sometimes I don't necessarily hear the words. They want me to go to the book. So I just kind of trust. Spring. I have so many questions. I go back into meditation and saw this beautiful purple light. It kept getting swallowed up by blackness. It caught my attention and I have been trying to figure it out. One thing is and quite often darkness will come up, and it usually symbolizes those shadow pieces within us. Darkness is not always a negativity or a dark period of time or a negative entity. Sometimes it's symbolic, and I feel like I have to lean in there with you. Is It's very symbolic of all of who you are, and we're afraid to acknowledge the darker pieces of us. We all have a story. We all have learned our lessons. We have all had, oh, I shouldn't have touched that, or I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. And I feel like sometimes we hold that very separate. And purple is a very spiritual color. And I think what was trying to show you in that meditation was surround yourself in that oneness, that purple light, that spiritual light, even the shadow parts of ourselves. So sometimes we may hold on to shame or regret or be hard on ourselves for those dark moments. We all have our shadows. We all have that, and we tend to, not all of us, but some of us tend to hold that very separate, right? So I really feel that meditation and your spirit guides were coming to show you, no, love it all. Like, just love all of you. There we go. Cheyenne tried automatic writing and it blew my mind. Yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. Um, just gonna scroll up here and try and catch a few that I may have missed. Jen, Colby asked why you're live so much and needed to hear about Colby asked why you're live so much and needed to hear about giving energy to what's right. Well, Colby, I try to go live as much as I can. I like to have everybody gather together. The community energy has been huge for me. I try to give as much as I can to people. Yes, I do readings and sessions and teachings. As work, it is the job and the role that I've taken on. It's also really important for me to show up without a booked appointment. Or sometimes people are from all over different parts of the world and can't see me. I also feel really pulled to teach each other. I learn as much from people as spirit, maybe using me as a vessel to teach people. I just feel it's so important to build community right now, both in person and remotely, and it's been a huge push for me. So that's why I am here. um, and Colby, if you have any other questions, you can get your mom to message me. Um, and I always feel, Colby, that we're here collectively as a group. We're here as together at the same time and space. And I feel like we need to be that supportive space for one another. So let's see here. So I want to talk a little bit about spirit guides. So there's a couple questions here about spirit guides. Um, And I don't always, and perhaps it's because I try to get to as many messages as I can. I don't always hear spirit guides, the names of the spirit guides. If I was to sit for a longer period of time, I may. Sometimes I hear them very loud and clear. It's like this is the name of your spirit guide. One thing with the spirit guides is they bring in the teaching of trust. And even with my own spirit guides, and I talked about this before on I think it was in a video or maybe it was in a YouTube live, is sometimes we get so fixated on a certain thing that it doesn't build that trust. So for example, I had a spirit guide. I seen her every day for like 25, 30 years. She joined me, never got her name, never got her name, never got her name. And it was something that I asked constantly. Every time she appeared, "What's your name?" And what she was trying to teach me is that didn't matter what her name was. What mattered was I needed to trust. I needed to learn to trust spirit. I needed to learn to trust. I don't need to know, all the other details. I needed to trust the moment. So quite often, especially if someone's learning how to trust, I won't hear their name. They won't tell me. And it's interesting, and that has been was a theme and a lesson for me to learn, and it seems to be something that spirit guides continue to push that teaching. The other thing is our spirit guides do change. You may have a spirit guide that shows up to help you for an hour. And it's part of our spirit council. You may just need that specialist for 1 hour. And you may have a spirit guide that comes in and spends many years with you. And you may have some that are in for just a season of your life. That they're here to help you through that. And when we learn to just kind of trust, when we learn to kind of trust that, I'm just going to trust that, it helps with our connection. And sometimes it's not up to me to give you the experience of hearing their name. It's about teaching you to sit and connect with them and allow you to hear their name. Right. So sometimes there's many different factors as to why I may or I may not get a name, but quite often it's to teach you. Yeah. All right. A few more and then I have to go. It's 9:34. I've been on for almost an hour today. But I will have to let you go very, very soon. My main spirit guide will not say his name to others. He has his reasons for it. He'll only say it to a select few. Yeah. There we go. It's that's there's so many different reasons, right? There's so many different lessons that they're teaching us, and sometimes it's we're teaching. They could be teaching us to be protective or sacred with our spirit guides. My spirit guides are very, very sacred to me, and I think sometimes they're teaching us how to hold that sacred space, right? Very interesting. Cheyenne, thank you for asking the 222 meetings. I appreciate that. I didn't catch that question. Um, I will talk about the angel numbers because Maria, angel numbers have different meanings, but it really depends on the message you feel after seeing a certain number. For me, 44 and 444 mean we're here and we are guiding you. Absolutely. Love it. So, and one thing that I always ask people is what does that feel like to you? What does that mean to you? Angel numbers, 100%. There are many different meanings to them, but quite often it can be a loved one getting your attention. It can be a message from angels and guides. It can also be a reminder from the spirit dimensions, right? There's a reminder that comes in. 888 for me has a very different meaning than any angel number book that's been written. So it has a very different meaning for me. So it's a reminder from my guides in Atlanta. Pay attention here, right? So it absolutely, Maria, 100%. And that's a really important thing to kind of remind ourselves too is how do you feel when you see that? What's coming up into your awareness? Okay. Okay, let's see where we go. A couple more, and then I really do have to go. Search it. The meaning of numbers is spread all over the internet. Yep. And it is spread all over the internet. And I always 100%, I will say take note of that. Maybe you need to know that you're supported or that this is around or this is going on, but also tap into energetically what you're feeling at the time. So what comes into your awareness when you see a repeat number? So let's say you start seeing 222 everywhere you go. I always say to people, how do you feel? What's going on with you energetically? Right? If have you been feeling alone? Have you been oh, that number's trying to tell me I'm not alone. Go with how you're feeling because your spirit guides in your journey. It's not about the internet and what everybody else is experiencing. It can be a very personal message for you too. Every now and again, I get a client that said, Well, the book doesn't say that. And I said, well, you're living your life, by according to a book that somebody else written. This is your journey. So how do you feel? Come back into your own awareness. How does that feel to me? What am I experiencing that the angels or our deceased loved ones are trying to connect a message to me? It may not always be what Google says it is or what a book says it is. Go with how you feel. We're all connected to our spirit guides. We all have that ability. Just go back into how you feel. All right, I do have to wrap up. Thumbs up if you enjoyed your spending your an hour with me this morning. I'm not sure how much time I'll have on Wednesday. I will be back on Wednesday morning though. May not be for the full hour, but we will tap in. Um, take for those of you who don't take notes, I'm just going to leave a little suggestion for you. Start getting a little pocketbook or even notes on your phone. Um, Start keeping a little bit of notes as to what you're feeling or the message from spirit, and if it's coming up for you. And it'll just like the automatic writing, when we journal things and when we kind of take note on how we're feeling, it kind of gives us a bit of a roadmap as to what's going on. I used to roll my eyes with journaling. Oh, I don't want to journal. I don't want to write it down. And I just kind of stuck with it, and it just kind of gave me that roadmap, that navigation, to yeah, I look back and it was like, I can see how I've grown. I can see how that, was something I needed to work on. I could see um how important it was to be able to change my thoughts. Like, just kind of lean in there a little, just with some taking notes. Now I've gone too far the other way. It's like I've got journals everywhere. I'm a highly unorganized journal writer. There's a journal in my truck. There's a journal in every room. Sometimes it's post-it notes when I channel. It's like I have to write on everything. It's a lot of post-it notes for me right now. But it works for me. And whatever works for you, be satisfied. Your willingness to do things differently. Enjoy the romantic energy this week, by the way. There's a romantic energy this week. Um, Dance with yourself in the kitchen if there's no partner there. Like, really kind of have that allow that romantic feeling towards yourself too. It's that compassion and love for ourselves. We tend to shy away from that. So, if you're feeling that space, and, romantic doesn't necessarily have to be with a partner. It can be a romantic feeling in nature, right? It can be a romantic feeling, um, connecting to the stars. Like, just allow that kind of vibration to flow through you this week. Yeah. Uh, it's and it's funny when you think of certain energies on what it stirs up. So when you feel I'm having a really hard time disconnecting from this live today. I'm just going to trust that. Um, when you think about the feelings that a word may carry, the energy that a word may carry. When you think about the feeling of romance, right? Your eyebrows go up. It's like, yeah, it's that space of that love within, that love for others, that romantic feeling. You can be romantic with the sky, right? You can have that rendezvous with the sky. You can have that rendezvous in the forest or by the beach, or whatever connects you to that feeling, right? And with other people. It's great to have that energy, that romantic space. And whatever that means to you, allow a little bit more of that. It has been a glorious hour and 2 minutes. I can't believe how fast the time goes. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. Your questions were amazing. I know I didn't get to them all. I did my best in an hour to get to as many. Britt says, I'm in love with walking outdoors lately. The birds, lately cardinals especially, been talking. The vibration of romance there, right? I love doing that. Dive into that. Dive into that this week, and allow yourself to play. As always, love, light, blessings, and I appreciate your thumbs up, by the way, and have a spirit guided day. Take care of each other.